Now, if all parties are actually fine with the House coming down in just a week, then why the final walkthrough? Why would the prosecution be there today? For that, I turn to a very smart prosecutor, Dave Aronberg. He's the state attorney for Palm Beach County in Florida. He's former assistant attorney general. What could be left, Dave? What could possibly be left for them to look at to compel an actual on-site visit today, a week before the wrecking ball?
Ashleigh, as your last guest correctly noted, because of the gag order, we don't know. And as a prosecutor, I could only guess that perhaps they need one more look at the angles, the models that were created, taking more photographs. But you would think that would have been done by now, especially because the demolition is occurring in a week. And so I think that prosecutors need to be careful that they've already agreed to this demolition, and it could only come back to haunt them. I mean, because it's up to the defense to poke holes in the prosecution's case. And if they come up with some new theory the prosecution was not aware of, and the prosecution can't go back to the House and disprove it, oh boy, that could be reasonable doubt. So I hope the prosecution has an airtight case, that they've got enough with DNA and other evidence that they don't need this House. But I just think that it's better that they keep it.
Part of me wants to ask if it was just a show. Prosecutors showing up for the sake of the media to see that they're crossing their last T's and dotting their last I's. But then the other part of me thinks, well, then they get excoriated for showing up at a place they thought 3 times ago wasn't needed.
Prosecutors are busy, Ashleigh. They're not going to do something for show. They're not doing this for the cameras. They're doing this because it provides some important evidence, or at least crosses that T and dots the I, because they're going to trial. They say they're ready for trial. And this is because they just want to make sure that they've got everything they need before it is torn down. And look, it's a good case. I don't think they necessarily need the House, but I think it's always better if you're a prosecutor when you've got the entire burden of proof that the House is there just in case. So I hope it goes well for them. I think they're going to win this case regardless, but I think they should keep the House. One thing about this, Ashleigh, is that I anticipate that the university, which is a very powerful player in town, has probably leaned on the players involved to say, we really want this gone. Do whatever you can to get rid of this house of horrors. And so it lit a fire perhaps under the prosecution.
Yeah, it could be. Can I ask you about the trial date? I mean, look, I didn't expect to see the filing just poof. They always throw things at you right during the holidays or before the holidays when they think more people are busy with shopping. But in came the filing just a few hours ago saying, court, we are asking for 6 weeks this summer when the university students aren't there and when the high school students aren't there. But that's, as you heard Richard Block, that's about 18 months, 19 months or so from the actual murder. Well, no, from the arrest. That's lightning warp speed to me, especially on a quadruple murder trial. What are your thoughts about the possibility we could see a Bryan Kohberger trial this summer?
I think it's possible, especially because the parties were ready to go a couple months ago. And then it was the defense that said, all right, hold on, we're actually not ready now, and let's take back our request for speedy trial. So I think the fact that they were going to go just a couple months ago shows you that if this occurs in the summertime, I think they'll be ready. Now, if the defense comes back and says, you know, Your Honor, we need more time, the judge usually gives a lot of deference to the defense. They want to make sure they get their Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial. So as I like to say, the tie goes to the defendant, and they will postpone it. But I do believe this trial will occur sometime next year, hopefully in that summertime, because, as you correctly said, that's when school is out. And there's a logistical issue if you've got high school and college in while the trial is occurring at the same time.
Well, you know, plenty of cities have plenty of things going on, like Orlando and Disney World and all the rest, and they can still hold big trials that are media spectacles. I'm looking at you, Casey Anthony. But I do want to ask you about the Speedy aspect. How long does Bryan Kohberger have in his waiving of the Speedy aspect? Like, how long is too long? How many continuances? How many delays? How long can he actually hold out before the judge finally says, Ms. Taylor, your client and you will be in court on X date?
It's up to the judge, and the prosecutors can weigh in. But, you know, the public and the victims' families, they all have a right to a speedy trial, too. It's not as guaranteed in the Constitution as the defendant's right in the Sixth Amendment, but there is an interest to have a fast trial, not to delay this anymore. You don't want the victims' families to be victimized yet again.
You also don't want memories to fade. And I struggle with what I had for breakfast. And when you're talking about 2, 3, 4 years, that starts to get tricky for memories and then finding certain witnesses, et cetera. So I can see how justice delayed is slightly justice denied, but I also understand the speedy trial. You're so smart. It's why we call you. Dave Aronberg, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.